Going right here. Nick, are you nearby? You mic'd up? You're on your way. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have Nick Mottas up here. He's the CEO of, well, you're going to talk all about it. Went from banking to finance to IT to solution provider. I'm very intrigued to hear about this because it's a great service. Nick, it's all yours.
Who has the clicker? There we go. I'll take it. Thank you for the introduction. I am Nick Mottas. I'm the co-founder and CEO of HopDrive. Little background on me. I was in IT at an LTL trucking company called Estes Express Lines. Really sexy logistics. How do you fit a bunch of pallets onto a truck, right? But complicated. So I ended up moving to CarMax. That's how I got my introduction into auto. That's how I got my foot in the door with how vehicles are moved. And my God, was I surprised, right? It's not complicated. The most you can ever fit onto a truck is 6 or 8 cars, and yet the industry wasn't doing it very well. In particular, what they weren't doing very well is moving cars short distances. I was very surprised to see in data that it was taking 3 to 5 days to move a car 20 miles. Insane. 20 miles. Everybody could just say, I'll go jump in the car and drive it across town, right? And yet it didn't happen. The reason why is because trucks are not incentivized to move cars short distances, and drive service in its traditional form is also not incentivized to move cars short distances in a speedy manner. So we applied the gig economy model to vehicle transportation. I think it's a brilliant way to do it. The drivers are incentivized to move fast. They get paid every time they have a gig. And of course, then the vehicles move really quickly. So when I left CarMax, we started moving vehicles for operational moves, getting them off-site for independent dealers. Car Lots, RIP, was our very first customer, but they were great. We learned a lot. Right ahead of COVID, thankfully, we introduced the valet service pickup and delivery program. So I remember my first conversations with dealers. This is cool. You're going to go get my customer's car and bring it into the dealership. One problem, they love my coffee. I just invested into my waiting room. Bullshit, right? Nobody wants to come into the dealership, all right? So 1 month later, COVID happened, and consumer sentiment changed. Those same consumers that may have loved the dealer's coffee just realized that they could order their food with Instacart, they could order their groceries with all of the different things that deliver to their house, right? So let me fast forward a little bit. We call them couch consumers. So the couch consumer has not left. These are all the people that through COVID realized they could transact from their house. And so why would a couch consumer say, I'll deliver my groceries to my house, but you know what, I'm okay going to a dealership to get my oil changed? Probably not. And there's whole industries, right? All the big players have chased it. I mean, Carvana, the persona of a Carvana buyer is one that said, I don't even need to see the car before I buy it. Why would that customer decide to go into your dealerships to get it serviced? They don't want that. They want to be able to transact from afar. And even the dealers here in this room are chasing it, right? You have your digital buying experience. Do all the things online. That persona of the customer that just took you up on that is the same one that doesn't want to come into your dealership to service the vehicle. So therefore, there's a problem, right? How do you service those customers? Well, they'll tell you, you need to pick up the vehicle, right? Valet pickup and delivery. These are Cox stats. 89% of consumers feel pickup and delivery is very appealing, right? I think everybody in this room would probably agree with that. 67% of consumers would actually switch to a dealership that offers vehicle pickup and delivery. Now, I think I would take this even a step further. What if it's not a dealer that's doing it? What if it's independent service? Uh-oh, they already own the market, and so they're going to get even stronger, right? You cannot allow those consumers to either switch to another dealer that's a competitor or worse, go to independent, right? Would they pay for it? Yeah, 50-50. So does that mean the dealer has to foot the entire bill for service pickup and delivery? No, right? And so what we're here to talk about is how to run a successful valet pickup and delivery program. I think if every dealer knew that they didn't have to pay out of their own pocket to have their consumers' vehicles picked up, everybody would sign up, right? Now, if you happen to be a Ford dealer or you happen to be a Genesis dealer, those OEMs subsidize you. That's great. Why aren't you doing it, though? Well, because it's hard, right? How do I train the staff? How do I get the processes in place? We just talked a lot about processes all day today. It's hard. This is hyper logistics. You just heard me say Fortune 50 companies can't even move cars 20 miles in 3 days. How are you expected to do it, right? So what is in it for you? We have seen, and there's a lot of really great valet pickup and delivery. Everybody's probably heard of Brian Benstock. He goes all over the internet claiming all the amount of money that he drives through his service pay. It's real. It is real. We've seen it with our dealers, additional RO spend, and it's simple. When you are upselling a customer that came in for the oil change that needs brakes or something else, there's only one of two reasons they're going to say no. One, they can't afford it. They're not going to transact with you anyway. Or two, they don't want to wait around for the vehicle. But in the fact that they're not sitting there in your waiting room, you can upsell them, right? They have no excuse to that. Sure, I'm sitting at work. You picked up my car this morning. I'm happy. I need it done anyway, so go ahead. So our dealerships are more successful in upselling their customers with more customer pay. We talked about it earlier. So the consumer wants it. You have to provide it. Now you have to decide, is it you that's going to be the progressive dealer in your market or someone else, right? So you need that fresh new innovation to be able to wow those customers. They expect it. We just saw the stats. So you have to be able to find that way to win them. So benefits of concierge services. There's a lot of reasons to do concierge pickup and delivery. Meeting customer demand is number one. We saw it. 89% of customers said they want it. That's demand to me, right? But you're going to increase customer sat. So we have some really high functioning dealerships with an OEM that we have an agreement with. They're the two highest performing stores in their entire region, which happens to be the largest region in all of the U.S. There's no surprise there. I mean, we're running a successful valet pickup and delivery program. They're the top two CSI score dealerships. But we talked about you could increase your RO. You're going to give yourself a competitive advantage against your other dealers as well as independents. But one of the things that we do really well is also help you buy customer cars. So we do vehicle appraisals. We know the condition of those vehicles. We tie in with Black Book. So these are all these innovations where it's like we don't just move cars, but we start to create a flywheel for your dealership. So every time we move a car in, your dealership, the buyer on the front end, gets a vehicle appraisal to be able to solicit the customer, which is great. So why isn't it being done more? Well, it's challenging. Incorrect resource management is number one. How do you even start to hire? How do you know how many drivers you need? How do you know how many drivers you need at a certain time? It's really difficult. With companies like HopDrive, we outsource that for you. So you don't have to worry about it. It's just an easy button, right? Training, lack of visibility, and probably number one to a dealer, liability risk. Who pays if somebody screws the car up, right? All of these are considerations for what you're running with a valet pickup and delivery program, and frankly, why you shouldn't be trying to do it yourselves. You guys pay for a lot, right? We get the question a lot. Well, you're really expensive transactionally sometimes, right? Maybe so, but you're running a shuttle service, you're running tow trucks, you have employees, loaner cars, contracted drivers. You're paying for it anyway, and in a fractional use model like what HopDrive does, so we use gig. You're only paying when we move a car. You're not paying for software fees. You don't do any of those things. It's a smarter way to do it. There's so many companies that run fractionally. So you're not betting on the demand that's going to come. You're paying for the demand that has already come, right? So in dealer use cases, there's a lot. We don't consider valet pickup and delivery just for pickup and delivery. That's one use case. But when you run a successful program, you're leveraging it across the other arms of your dealership. Why wouldn't you send loaner cars with every service, right? Why wouldn't you do at-home test drives, right? You have customers saying, I want to test drive this vehicle. I want to buy this vehicle. I've already come online and started the digital experience. Great. Let me send that car out to you to be here in 2 hours, right? That's a wow experience that you're likely going to convert over to a purchase, right? Remote appraisals, buy more cars, do all the things that your customers expect, but make it frictionless for them. You don't need them to come in. We had some of the Shark Tank presenters here earlier saying, we mine data from KBB ICO. Show of hands, how many people have gone through KBB ICO? You get like 5 texts from every dealer in your market, and every one of them says, we want to buy your car. Come on down so I can take a look at it. If you're the dealer that says, I love your car, I'm going to come get it so I can take a look at it, bet you the customer goes with you, at least to see if you have a chance to buy it, right? I'm not going to really touch on this, but we do the same thing for the fleet side of the dealer businesses. This is oftentimes where a lot of the dealerships struggle. They're selling through the fleets. They're expected to sell to upfitters or send to upfitters. They have the same transportation problems, right? So having that valet experience over to the upfitters is just as great for them. We look at it as a flywheel. So again, it starts with move a car. And it starts with concierge. That could be for recall work. We're going to see Ryan up here in a second talking about that. But then you provide an appraisal, which gives you an inventory acquisition opportunity. If you're successful in that, you can sell them a new car. We've been testing with F&I, but you have your own programs that can subsidize the cost of vehicle pickup and delivery. And the whole point to this is to get your customer on the flywheel and keep them there. And then once that flywheel is getting ready to expire, AKA 3 years from now potentially, get them back on the flywheel so your F&I can pay for the vehicle pickup and delivery, or the OEM continues to subsidize because it's under the 3 years, $36,000. So all of these tricks are just designed to be able to keep you on a program that doesn't have a lot of dealer cost. So the other thing we haven't talked about, which is incredibly simple, it's how do you increase retention with direct marketing? It's pretty easy. Just include the message, we'll pick your car up, right? It's a convenience message. We have a lot of dealers that have leaned into it. Everyone markets the same way. Here's a low-cost oil change. Here's a discount percentage off of my service. They're the same in many ways. This is something that stands out. So what we have is our high-performing dealers are sending those messages, but with, we'll pick your car up for free. Right? Their conversion percentage, by the way, is significantly higher on their marketing. And then the really smart ones are actually pre-selling the upsell. So it's call in for your oil change, but ask me about valet pickup and delivery. And when they call in and ask, they say, well, you're on a 15,000 mile service interval right now. If you want to go ahead and upgrade to that, which is $300, 80% gross margin, all labor and materials, we'll pick your car up for free, right? And your oil change will be included as well. You've pre-sold the upsell. You know your margin. Every time a Hop driver shows up to your dealership, you're ringing the cash register. You know that you have profited on that, and you've gotten your RO amounts up, which has trickle-down effects to your ability to recruit the best mechanics because your RO amounts are high and they get paid a lot. There's a lot of things that this really affects. Now, it's a lot of indirect, and you have to run the program and run it really like a top, or else you're not gonna achieve all these things. So I'm gonna click through some of the things. On-site branding is big. You don't want those customers in your waiting room. Put some criteria in your waiting room for that. Social media. This is a great example. Bryce over here knows this guy. Mark Pons has an independent service chain in Chapel Hill. He eats the lunch of dealers. He offers free pickup and delivery on oil changes, state inspections. We move a hell of a lot of cars for his entire network, right? Share your 5-star reviews. You're going to get them. We see them all the time. Our partners Slack them to us in our Slack channels. The customers love it. Share it out. That's what everybody needs. So these are just additional examples of more marketing. It's really just making sure that your customers know that it's available. And so again, in a lot of our Genesis dealers and Ford dealers, we help with marketing. That's key one. Like, make sure the customer is made aware that service pickup and delivery is there. Train your BDCs on talk tracks. In those Ford locations, you get reimbursement on pretty much the entire set of your customers. It comes down to, are you offering it to the customer? Because again, 89% of them should say yes, which would mean if you're only seeing an adoption of like 10%, probably means you're not offering it. So that is it. Any questions about valet pickup and delivery? We have 48 seconds left before Steve comes and kicks me off.
What does that driver look like that shows up to pick up the car? Are they a dealership logo of insurance?
So for our drivers, we are in a safety vest that looks like a golf vest. We can't brand as the dealership because they're gig, so there's gig laws around that. But it says service valet pickup and delivery specialist on the back, and it's a professional experience every single time. They all look the same. Yep.
What's the agreement and then what's the opt-out?
Oh yeah, for HopDrive service. This is not meant to be a sales call, but thanks for asking. So yeah, agreement is no term, no onboarding fee, and you pay per transaction. You can opt out whenever you want. Yep.
What kind of take rate do you see? So like you turn on a store that's doing, let's say, 50 ROs a day.
Mm-hmm.
What is the take rate of consumers who want to buy their car?
Yeah, it's interesting. The most we've ever seen from a dealer that actually tracks is 10%. But we're doing some testing right now with BDC training and like an audit on the back end of ROs to valet. So with a couple Ford dealers in Atlanta, we expect to see that above 30% with take rate. Yeah.
Subaru endorses pickup and delivery through the dealer network, and their top dealers are 30%.
30%, yeah. That sounds about right.
3x.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Some of these customers, like this guy in Subaru dealer out of Chandler is the one that's really champions.
Yeah.
They charge $40. The delivery service charges $40 for pickup and delivery, and their customers pay the full $40.
Yeah.
So your guess at $20, they're paying the full $40.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. $40 is like the equivalent of just getting an Uber, right? To and from.
So we give a lift ride to every customer.
Yep.
Right? So I mean, how does this compete or compare with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what your budget is for the Lyft ride. Probably slightly more than the Lyft ride.
What do you charge for pickup and delivery of a service customer?
Yeah, it's going to be mileage based. So the way that we charge is we give you mileage bands. So 0 to 3 miles might be in your market $35, and it goes on up from there.
I mean, I'm trying to get my head around it because Lyft rides, everybody knows they get their RO and say, okay, go to the cashier or go to the
Yeah.
receptionist to get your Lyft ride. And then they hand the RO over. She verifies the address. Is this where you want to go?
Yeah.
Sometimes people use different addresses. And then everybody knows they get a ping on their phone. Lyft will be here in 5 minutes.
Yeah. So you're using Lyft Concierge Portal or Hailer. Yeah. 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 With us, it starts with integration into the service schedulers. So your service scheduler writes a record to us that says, go pick up, Joe's car, and we know where it's going to be picked up and when it's going to be picked up, and the magic happens from there.
I liked your presentation at the beginning, the opportunity to appraise cars or do whatever and try to build a relationship and get them into I forgot what you called it, a flywheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the expectation from the dealership is, oh, that's what I experienced. It was so good. I'm going to get another one of those cars at the end of the lease.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, it's very strategic who you should offer it to. I'm the first one to say don't offer it to a state inspection first-year customer that's already transacted with you once in the service lane. That's a loss leader, right? Don't do that. All right,
Cool.
Thank you.
Round of applause for Nick. Hold on, don't do anything. Scott, can we get the shoes up here? So if you notice,